So Marvel Rivals just came out with their patch notes for Season 2.5, and you know I don't like wasting your time, so even if it's bad for the algorithm, I'm going to start with all the highlights, and I'm just going to do a little meta talk as we go. If you don't know me, I'm NotoriousDuB. I am a smaller creator, so a like goes a long way to helping me out, and if you want to take it a step further, simply comment more down below if you want more Marvel improvement content. Young Jeffrey is what everybody's talking about right now. His Joyful Splash ability, the little healing beam, previously healing only, now deals 70 damage per second, with some damage fall off, maxing out at 65% at 40 meters, which means everyone's going to be getting whittled down or kept alive at all times. Jeff's Aqua Burst now has 3 charges, recharging at 1 charge per 3 seconds, but had a 5 damage increase and now knocks enemies up. And displacement is actually pretty hard to come by in Rivals, that's a big increase. His healing bubbles now have 3 charges maximum. They don't knock up anymore, but they do heal more, but all the heal is over time now, which actually makes him a little easier to kill if he's flanking you. Jeff now has a timer on how long he can swim around in hide and seek form. His ultimate now provides healing to himself at 45 health per second, up to 150 max bonus HP whenever he has an ally swallowed, which is going to make him more difficult to kill whenever he ults. His ult charges far slower at 4,500 instead of 4,000 charge total, and his damage reduction when taking a critical hit at all times goes from 150% total damage to 120% total damage. Overall, making the Shark kind of a lot tankier unless he's flanking. Jeff is now meta, to be honest. And that's not even taking into consideration the Jeff-Nado. The new and improved and soon to be meta Jeffrey combines with the already highest win rate in the game and got another buff, Storm, to what appears to be pull in Jeff and fly him around in Sharknado fashion, doing what looks like crazy damage and eventually swallowing all the enemies. And the best part is, now we might finally be able to throw the Jeffrey off the map and see how he likes it. Duelists see a pretty huge change. Hawkeye, who's starting to get a lot of respect in the meta, especially after the GOAT Moxie has been dominating with him, sees a base damage increase from 32 to 34, which doesn't seem like much, but it's all the charge damage that matters. His max focus goes from 70 to 75, and his charging speed increases by 8% to 108 per second from 100 per second. And his charge falls off a little bit faster too, but that's relatively insignificant. And I'm calling it now. Hawkeye was already underrated, starting to climb, and now he's going to be the star of the show for Marvel Rivals. Luna Snow, previously the highest healing output strategist in the game, gets a 10% healing output increase on her basic attacks and a 10% damage output increase from 20 to 22 per hit. Her Snowball now gives her 50 bonus health per enemy hit, but all of this comes at the cost of an increase in ult charge from 4,500 to 5,000, making her a little bit weaker in overtime, to be honest, but far stronger in the standard game. And this is what I think is about to be a problem this season. The team up between Luna and Hawkeye. Hawkeye saw an insane buff in the patch notes, so did Luna Snow, but this team up allows Luna to have a 15% increase in her heals by itself, and Hawkeye will get ice arrows, which freeze all enemies in an area, which then gives Hawkeye time to charge up his even more powerful arrows now for all but a guaranteed free headshot / kill. I'm nervous and a little bit excited about this one. I'm putting down Punisher and Hela and picking up Hawkeye, which maybe not because both of them got buffed this season too. We're eating good, boys. Rocket and Peni also get a team up that might actually make Peni meta because Rocket's already good. Peni ends up with 2 spider nests, so twice as many mons. Also, armor packs are going to come out of one of them, which are sometimes useful. And Rocket also gets use in this team up, making his rebirth beacon now spawn a spider web and mines all around it as well, which probably won't have that much effect in game, but it does make it a lot harder to kill by those flanking melee characters, so maybe your res beacon stays up kind of a lot more. Iron Man and Ultron also get a team up, which gives Iron Man a measly 5% damage increase, so he's still weaker than he was prior to this nerf, but gives Ultron a beam that deals what looks like significant damage over time, while also healing over time in a piercing beam, so a lot of frontline damage and survivability is going to come their way. There was also a huge team-up removal. Venom and Spider-Man no longer have a team-up, which means Spider-Man has a huge nerf to his kill potential, where the Venom team-up was getting him through a lot of his pretty bad matchups. Now he won't have that to rely on. Spider-Man's pick rate should probably go down a little bit as the ranks get higher. Magneto is back. Magneto's rings now passively charge at a speed of 3 seconds per stack instead of what previously was 4, which to the untrained eye sounds like nothing, but this is going to let him spam mag cannons a lot more often, which knockbacks and guarantees he gets an auto off pretty much, dealing a total of 103 damage minimum every roughly 6 seconds. Now, counting how fast he charges rings with his shields. Prepare for your backline and all the squishies on your team to die randomly against Magneto's way more often, which was already kind of the strongest part of his kit. Captain America has been going crazy in Season 2 and the end of Season 1.5, boasting a win rate from 52 to 55% through the entirety of it really, but is seeing his survivability plummet with some nerfs last season and some more this season. With the Season 2 change making a small difference, Season 2.5 is bringing another base health drop by 25 HP, about a 4% nerf this time. But with that, his shield recovery delay goes from 2 seconds to 4 seconds, significantly reducing his ability to jump around and constantly pull his shield reflect out to stay alive. Now he's got to be a little bit more picky about when to pull it out, because a 4-second delay to even start recovering shield value slows down his kit by kind of a lot. And on top of those, his ult charge goes from 2800 to 3100, which isn't that much, but effectively makes his ult charge about 10% slower. This may be a little bit too much of a hit, but his win rate should still average around the 50% range. He's still a fine character to play. Emma Frost is picking up a huge nerf that half the community has been begging for since her release, and the other half of the community has been dreading. Her beam is getting a slight buff from a 15.5 meter range to 18 meters, which isn't really a ton, but will help her stay full charge a little bit easier, which is arguably the most important part of her kit. Her shield is taking a 100 HP nerf, so a 20% reduction in value total. Her grab, Carbon Crush, goes from a 5-second cooldown to 6 seconds. Diamond Form itself only lasts 8 seconds, so this reduces your grace period of getting 2 grabs off in a single Diamond Form by a ton, which might end up being the biggest part of her kit being nerfed. And her Diamond Form kick, which is usually a finisher, loses 10 damage on the front end and 10 damage on the back end if the enemy you're kicking hits a wall. So overall, Emma trades a little bit of range for a ton of squishy kill potential and overall effectiveness. Groot also picks up a relatively significant nerf in the form of a 5 damage reduction from his Vine Strikes, which is his auto attacks, and a 4-second increase in cooldown on his Ironwood Wall, which is also a significant nerf to his survivability because his Ironwood Wall is the one that heals him. Overall, I don't think this is going to drop Groot's win rate by much. He should still be close to the highest DPS tank, but it might get him from a staggering 40% ban rate to a more manageable like 20%. Thor gets a little bit of an interesting change. Overall, his survivability goes down from 100 to 75 bonus health per Thor force used, up to a maximum of 150 instead of 200. So it's going to be a little bit easier to kill whenever he's spamming abilities. But his hammer throw ability is now a standard ability. It doesn't cost Thor force anymore, so he's not going to get the bonus HP for it. And there's no more universal cooldown. It's now a 6-second cooldown, which is how long you throw your stuff for anyway. It's a damage decrease from 70 to 45. Overall, it kind of just seems like a sideways change to make him feel a little bit less clunky, but we'll see how that ends up from the Thor mains. Hela sees a pretty good buff that I've been struggling with for a while. Her ammo capacity actually goes from 8 to 10. With how long her reload speed is, this is kind of a good buff, and it's going to mean her uptime goes way higher, and the damage numbers overall are going to be even higher, making her a better tank buster, which is kind of the weakest part of her kit currently. Human Torch is seeing a pretty needed nerf. He's been banned or picked with a high win rate a lot in high elos. His Fire Cluster AoE attack goes from 7 to 6 damage per hit, which is pretty significant. His charge of Blazing Blast goes from 2 to 3 seconds, and his bonus health gain goes from 75 to 50, with a 5-second increase to the cooldown to boot, probably leaving Johnny kind of back at the A tier instead of a high S tier pick. Iron Fist, another duelist that's been dominating the meta, is taking a pretty big hit. His team up with Luna drops his damage increase from 15 to 10%. His bonus health increase goes from 1.5 to 1.3 whenever he takes damage in his parry mode. The max bonus health drops to 175 from 200, and the dash distance of his flurry of blows is reduced whenever he's trying to fly away. The parry cooldown reduction was nerfed whenever hitting with basic attacks from 1.5 seconds to 1 second reduction, and overall it just kind of takes away a lot of Iron Fist's utility and making him a little bit more clunky to play. Iron Man, my favorite of all the Marvel characters and the person I say is the best to climb with in lower ranks, is seeing a pretty significant nerf. He's getting a 5 damage reduction in his basic attacks across the board, being it from the attack itself or the radial damage, and he's getting a 50 bonus health increase whenever he activates Armor Overdrive instead of 100. But this is countered with him getting a 5% damage increase whenever he's teaming up with Ultron, which still leaves him with less damage than he had prior to this nerf. Namor, my main for a long time, really sees a sideways change. His survivability goes down a lot. He gets a 5-second cooldown increase on his Bubble Blessings of the Deep, but aside from that, he sees a decent increase in power. His ult has the inner circle radius increased from 3 to 3.5 meters, so it's a little bit easier to hit that 500 damage circle, and the total radius is increased by 1 meter from 8 to 9. But the damage is reduced from 200 to 180, which means his Namor ult plus 1 auto attack now no longer kills any hero in the game, dealing 240 total damage, which means those picks are going to be a little bit harder to get. But to bring it back, the damage fall off of the squids is reduced significantly from 30% at 40 meters to 50% at 40 meters, so sniper squids are a little bit stronger. Psylocke's getting nerfed a little bit. The return damage of her secondary attack goes from 14 to 12, which in total is a 14 damage nerf in her overall burst, which isn't that much, but it's kind of significant. And her invisibility is moved from 3 seconds down to 2, which that one's a little more significant, to be honest. Squirrel Girl, who's been underpowered so far, gets buffed with an ammo increase from 10 to 12 and a cooldown reduction from 12 to 10 on her Mammal Bond, which gives her another ability for free. And a supposed better feel to how her abilities feel to use. I guess we'll see what that means whenever it comes out. Starlord gets a absolutely huge buff in my opinion. Overall a 10% increase in ult charge time, which is significant, but the max range increased from 30 to 40, and the damage at long ranges increased from a max of 60% of normal damage to 75%, which means full squad wipes whenever you're ulting are that much easier. Storm, who if you didn't already know, was already the highest win rate character in the game for 4 months in a row running, received a 10 damage per second increase in her ult, which isn't significant, but the fact that she dodged the Nerf hammer again is insane to me. Punisher actually ends up getting a huge buff. His move speed decreases by 10% less whenever he's in his ultimate, across the board whether you're firing or not firing, but his rifle is where the magic happens. He has a 10 bullet magazine capacity increase, and damage increase from 18 to 19, which doesn't sound like much, but actually means Punisher's rifle now outputs more damage per second than his shotgun does altogether. Never swap to your shotgun. Rocket Raccoon is supposedly taking a survivability hit, but the patch notes mention no such thing. The only change is that his secondary fire repair mode now heals 50 on direct hit instead of 55, which Rocket cannot direct hit himself anyway, so there might be something else they're meaning to change there. Team up wise, Punisher and Black Widow get a team up, which gives Punisher a little bit of damage, 5%, and lets Black Widow's attacks pierce enemies, which seems awesome, but also looks like it does decrease damage from what Black Widow normally does, and this type of mechanic is rarely useful in games like Rivals. Venom and Jeff also get a team up that allows Jeff to spawn symbiote tendrils that heal allies, and if it's an area of effect that latches on to everyone in a decent area, this might actually end up being a pretty good team up that's being heavily overlooked right now. And finally, Punisher no longer gets infinite ammo when he's teamed up with Rocket. Jeff no longer gets Ice Blast whenever he's teamed up with Luna, and Iron Man no longer gets to participate in the Gamma team up. He's all by himself, unless you include him adding with Ultron. And if you made it this far, you are a GOAT. I want to thank you for being here. If you want to support me, drop a like, comment, subscribe, and come say hi to me on Twitch. I'll see you guys in just a couple days, and I'm glad you stopped by to hang out with me. Peace!